You're walking home. It's late. The street is quiet, the kind of quiet that feels heavy instead of peaceful. You hear something behind you. Footsteps. They match your pace. You speed up. They speed up. Your heart rate spikes so hard you can feel it in your throat. Your brain screams one command. Run. But your legs don't move. Not properly. They feel heavy, locked, like they belong to someone else. Your hands go cold. Your breath gets shallow. You want to scream but your throat closes up. You want to sprint but your feet are glued to the pavement. For 3 seconds, maybe 5, maybe 10, you are a statue with a pulse. Then the moment passes. The footsteps turn a corner. The danger evaporates. And immediately, the shame starts. Why didn't I run? Why didn't I fight? Why did I just stand there like an idiot waiting to get hurt? You feel like your body betrayed you. Like there was a survival instinct installed in everyone else and you missed the download. You replay the moment over and over, imagining all the things you could have done, all the ways you could have been faster, stronger, braver. You call it freezing. You call it failing. But here's the thing nobody tells you. Freezing isn't a failure. It isn't a glitch. It isn't proof that you're weak or cowardly or broken. It is one of the oldest, most sophisticated survival strategies in the animal kingdom. It is a biological calculation made by a system that knows more about danger than your conscious mind ever will. You didn't freeze because you're weak. You froze because you're human. And being human comes with ancient hardware that prioritizes staying alive over looking brave. Let's go. Start with the biology, because this is where the misunderstanding begins. Most people think survival responses are a sequence. First you see danger, then you fight or flee. But that's not how the nervous system works. It's not a straight line. It's a cascade. And the first step in that cascade isn't movement. It's stillness. Scientists call it the freeze response. It's mediated by the amygdala, the part of your brain that acts like a smoke detector, and the periaqueductal gray, a region in the midbrain that controls defensive behaviors. When a threat is detected, these areas light up instantly. Faster than thought. Faster than language. But here's the critical part. Your body doesn't just hit the gas. It hits the gas and the brake at the same time. The sympathetic nervous system floods you with adrenaline. Your heart races. Your muscles tense. You are chemically prepared for war. But simultaneously, the vagus nerve sends a signal to inhibit movement. It locks the motor cortex. It suppresses vocalization. It creates a state of high alert immobility. This isn't calm. This isn't relaxation. This is tension so high it looks like stillness. Think about a deer in headlights. It isn't relaxed. It is terrified. Every muscle is coiled. Every sense is amplified. But it doesn't move. Because moving might trigger the predator's chase instinct. Because moving might confirm its location. Because moving before assessment is a liability. Your body is doing the same thing. It is revving the engine while holding the clutch. It is preparing for action while demanding patience. And from the inside, that conflict feels like paralysis. Now let's talk about why this exists at all. Because evolution doesn't keep useless features. If freezing was just a malfunction, it would have been bred out of the human genome hundreds of thousands of years ago. The fact that it's still here, hard-coded into every nervous system on the planet, means it serves a purpose. The primary purpose is assessment. Movement is noisy. Movement is visible. In a natural environment, a running human is a beacon. A still human is part of the background. When danger is ambiguous, when you don't know exactly where the threat is or what it wants, moving immediately is a gamble. Running in the wrong direction runs you into the threat. Fighting the wrong target gets you killed. Freezing buys time. It buys the fraction of a second needed to scan the environment. To locate the exit. To identify the weapon. To hear the direction of the footsteps. To decide if this is a predator, a person, a misunderstanding, or a disaster. In evolutionary terms, that pause is valuable. The ancestors who froze long enough to assess the threat survived more often than the ancestors who sprinted blindly into danger. The ones who panicked and ran off cliffs didn't pass on their genes. The ones who paused, calculated, and then moved survived. You are descended from the pausers. That instinct is still running in your background. It doesn't care that you're on a city street instead of a savanna. It doesn't care that the threat is a car instead of a lion. It cares about the calculation. Is movement safe? Or is stillness safer? Sometimes the answer is stillness. There's another layer here that matters specifically for humans. We are social animals. Our danger isn't just physical. It's interpersonal. And in social conflict, freezing serves a different function. De-escalation. If someone is angry, unstable, aggressive, sudden movement can be interpreted as a challenge. Bolting can trigger pursuit. Fighting can trigger retaliation. But stillness? Stillness can signal submission. It can signal non-threat. It can buy time for the aggressor's anger to peak and subside. This is why so many people freeze during confrontations, during abuse, during assaults. It's not because they wanted to be there. It's because their nervous system recognized that resistance might increase the violence. It chose the strategy with the highest probability of survival in that specific context. That doesn't mean it always works. Of course it doesn't. Danger is unpredictable. But the body doesn't make decisions based on outcomes. It makes decisions based on probabilities. It chooses the path that has kept humans alive for the longest time. And for a long time, not provoking the predator was the best way to survive the encounter. Now we need to talk about the extreme version of this. Because this is where the shame gets heaviest. Tonic immobility. This is the state where the body goes completely limp. Where speech becomes impossible. Where time distorts. Where you feel like you're watching yourself from outside your own skin. This happens when fight and flight are no longer options. When the brain calculates that resistance is futile. It is not consent. It is not cooperation. It is not weakness. It is a last-ditch defensive response found across species. Sharks go limp when flipped over. Possums play dead. Humans go silent and still when the threat is overwhelming. From an evolutionary standpoint, it serves a few grim purposes. Sometimes it reduces the predator's drive to kill. Some predators lose interest in prey that doesn't struggle. Sometimes it minimizes physical damage. A body that doesn't fight back might suffer fewer injuries than a body that resists futilely. It is a survival strategy of last resort. And for anyone who has experienced this during trauma, hearing this matters. Because the narrative out there is often cruel. It asks why you didn't fight. Why you didn't scream. Why you didn't stop it. The answer is that your body did what it was designed to do to keep you alive. It sacrificed movement for survival. It chose the option that offered the highest chance of you waking up the next day. That isn't failure. That is biology operating under extreme pressure. Here's where it gets even more specific. Freezing happens most often when the threat is uncertain. If a lion jumps out at you, you run. If a fire starts, you move. Clear threats trigger clear actions. But ambiguity triggers freeze. A shadow that might be a person. A voice that might be angry. A situation that feels wrong but you can't say why. Your brain hates uncertainty almost as much as it hates pain. When the data is incomplete, the system pauses to gather more. It stops the output to maximize the input. It shuts down non-essential functions so it can focus entirely on the threat. That's why freeze feels so surreal. Time slows down. Sounds get muffled or too loud. Vision tunnels. Your hands feel like they belong to someone else. That's not a malfunction. That's resource allocation. Your brain is dumping energy into the survival circuits and cutting power to the rest. The digestion stops. The immune response pauses. The higher thinking functions go offline. All available power is directed toward assessing the danger and surviving the next 10 seconds. Comfort is not the priority. Survival is. And survival sometimes looks like standing still while your insides scream. Now let's address the personal history piece. Because not everyone freezes the same way. Some people fight. Some people flee. Some people freeze. And that variance isn't random. It's calibrated. Your nervous system learns from experience. If you grew up in an environment where danger was unpredictable, where resistance made things worse, where escape was impossible, your body learned that freeze was the safest option. It's not damage. It's training. If shouting got you hit, your body learned silence. If running got you caught, your body learned stillness. If fighting got you hurt, your body learned submission. Those lessons don't disappear when you become an adult. They stay encoded in the neural pathways. They stay active in the amygdala. They stay ready to deploy when a cue matches the old pattern. That's why someone can freeze over a boss yelling. Why someone can go silent during an argument that isn't physically dangerous. Why someone can lock up when a door slams. The body isn't reacting to the present moment only. It's reacting to the sum of all moments like it. It's reacting to the template. And if the template says stillness keeps you safe, stillness is what you get. Modern life makes this harder. Because we live in a world that values speed. We value quick reactions. We value assertiveness. We value speaking up. We value fighting back. And when our bodies don't comply with those values, we judge them. We call it weakness. We call it trauma response like it's a dirty word. We call it broken. But your body isn't broken. It's outdated. It's running software written for a world that doesn't exist anymore. A world where predators hunted in the dark. Where social exile meant death. Where a wrong move could end your lineage. That software is cautious. It's conservative. It prioritizes not dying over looking good. And in a modern context, that can feel embarrassing. Freezing during a presentation. Locking up during a conflict. Going silent when you need to speak. It feels like incompetence. But it's not. It's a mismatch. It's an ancient system trying to protect you in an environment it doesn't recognize. So what do you do with that? First, you stop shaming yourself. Shame activates the threat system. It tells your body you're in danger. It makes the freeze response harder to break. Beating yourself up for freezing is like yelling at a smoke detector for going off. It doesn't help. It just adds noise. Second, you understand that coming out of freeze requires safety cues. You can't think your way out of it. You can't command your way out of it. The nervous system responds to physical signals. Grounding. Breathing. Movement. Orientation. Looking around the room. Naming objects. Feeling your feet on the floor. Taking a long exhale. These aren't magic tricks. They are signals to the brain that the immediate threat has passed. They tell the system it's safe to release the brake. But the most important thing is this. You do not need to hate your body for protecting you. Even if the protection felt like paralysis. Even if it felt like betrayal. Even if it didn't work the way you wanted. It was trying. It was using the tools it had. It was running the program it was given. It was choosing the path it believed offered the highest chance of survival. So the next time you hear someone ask, "Why didn't you just run?" or you ask yourself the same question in the dark, remember that human beings are not simple machines. We are complex biological systems with layers of history written into our nerves. And in the first terrible second of danger, that system sometimes decides that stillness is smarter than motion. Not forever. Just long enough. Long enough to assess. Long enough to survive. Long enough to buy a sliver of time in a world that moves too fast. That's what freeze is. Not surrender. Not failure. Not weakness. A pause. A very old, very intelligent pause. And if your body has ever locked up when you needed it most, that does not mean it betrayed you. It means it was trying, in the only language it knew, to keep you alive. And that, honestly, is not something to be ashamed of. That's you being human.